over the course of the semester, I had the privilege to do my observation at Lindley Elementary School, and just some background information about that. It was built in 1970 and it was named after Aaron T. Lindley, who served as the Fort Wayne Community Schools superintendent from 1952 to 1961. And it is the district's only Spanish immersion school, which began in 1992. The little girl that I had the privilege to observe throughout the semester is a 6-year-old girl in a first grade classroom. And she is from here, the U.S., and her native tongue is English. She is not considered ELL, so I'm going to focus more on the Spanish aspect of her struggles through the academics. Just some background about her family. She is the middle child. She has an older sister who's in the 4th grade at Lindley Elementary School and a baby brother who is 1. Her mom is a stay-at-home mom, and her dad works full-time, and she says she doesn't get to see him too often, so I'm guessing maybe he either works second or third shift. She didn't really know. But when it comes to her parents and her academic success, they're not really involved in her schooling at all. My teacher told me that her parents never showed up for back to school night, nor did they sign up for a date for parent-teacher conferences. And about halfway through the semester, I had the privilege to go with a class to the apple orchard, and my teacher had to constantly remind my child to remember to have mom or dad sign their permission form, and she had to constantly remind her, and she took home a daily folder every day, but her mom wouldn't always look at that. And the way I conducted my project was basically through interview questions through the student as well as my teacher, and then also through artifacts that I collected, and I also was in child development at the same time, so that kind of helped too as I was collecting data for that class as well. That's basically how I conducted most of my project, is just based off of interview questions and artifacts through the student and just her overall progress in the classroom. And I talked about a little bit in my paper that she didn't have the access she does have at school with the Spanish speaking part, because neither mom and dad speak Spanish at home and she doesn't know much Spanish. So in the Spanish speaking part, she does struggle a lot with. I know when I'm there, it's during math, and she always has to look at the other students around her at her table to know what's going on. And what they have is they have a volunteer that comes in who is fluent in both English and Spanish, and she'll take a handful of kids and they'll go to a separate table, and she'll try to explain to them what the teacher in Spanish is saying first in Spanish a few times, and if they still don't understand it, then she'll eventually have to break down and say it in English. And a lot of the times she ended up having to say what the Spanish teacher is saying to the other kids in English for my child to understand. So she didn't really have the access or the design at home that she had at school. So anytime she had Spanish homework done, I asked that Spanish teacher. She said that a lot of the times her homework wasn't completed thoroughly or completed because for the simple fact that her parents don't speak Spanish and they don't participate in her schooling learning at all. So, and then another thing, while being at Lindley, I feel like there's a lot of like diversity obviously going on, as there is Hispanic children in there as well as American. So I think it's a good, important thing to do to bring in diversity in the classroom, because I know growing up when I was in school, 95% of the kids were white, so we didn't really talk about different cultures or different races or anything because we were all majority white, so we all had, share a lot of the same beliefs and values, so we didn't have to really go into that aspect. But after this observation, I've learned that you have to bring in diversity in the classroom and find a way to incorporate it that's best and suitable for those children in your classroom. And my personal aspect of this, I thought it was cool and I liked going to Lindley. I just don't believe that it's suitable for everyone. Like my child, she doesn't have the Spanish speaking part at home, so she struggles really poorly with that. And then she's fluent in English, but she doesn't understand it. Like her reading skills are below the level she should be at. So I think that's another thing. So it's good and it's not. You definitely have to have mom and dad's support, I believe, and she doesn't. So she really struggles a lot with that. So just being able then to provide my students with the access, the design and diversity and dominant discourse, to hope that they get a better academic learning is what I hope to achieve one day in my classroom.